No DQ Galaxy, we are live with a recap of Friday Night Smackdown for June 28th, 2024 from Madison Square Garden in New York City. 17,000 plus fans. We had the minimal set for SmackDown this week. Massive crowd in WWE's home arena, you could say. Big things were in store for this SmackDown. So let's get into the recap. Shout out to everybody watching, whether it's live or on demand. Let's get started here. We opened up the show with Paul Heyman asking Solo Sikoa, where was Jacob Fatu? The Bloodline had arrived, minus Jacob Fatu, who debuted last week. There was a "We Want Roman" chant as the Bloodline rushed to the stage. They came out, and all of a sudden, we had another car pull up. It was Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, and Kevin Owens. They went right out to the Bloodline. There was a confrontation. It turned into a wild brawl. Kevin Owens ended up jumping off a balcony with a swanton, putting Tonga Loa through a table. Then Nick Aldis showed up with security, and we went to our first commercial break. Hot opening to start off the show. We continued afterwards. After the break, Nick Aldis was trying to calm Cody's guys down, but then Randy Orton gave one of the security guards a RKO. I wonder if that security guard will be a WrestleMania headliner in 10 years. We'll have to see. Of course, the security guards all got beat up by Cody's group. And then they cut a promo to hype up the 6-man tag team match coming up at Money in the Bank. But then Nick Aldis showed up with police, the NYPD. And then Cody finished off his promo by saying that he doesn't see a head of the table with the Bloodline. All he sees is a seat filler. And then they took their leave, escorted out of the building by the police. So another good segment here with Cody Rhodes. Nice promo to build up Money in the Bank. Shout out to David Estevez, who sent in $2. Thank you for that. Says, just left Madison Square Garden, quickest 2 hours ever. It went fast for sure. And I think back to last year at Madison Square Garden, I was at that show and they dedicated like 45 minutes of the show to the Bloodline. And that was just the beginning. They did a segment at the very end too. More on the Bloodline here in just a few moments. It was a very similar deal where we had a long angle at the beginning of the show, 2 segments, and then there was more Bloodline. So stay tuned for that. We'll be talking about that here in just a few moments. Thank you again, David. We had our first of 3 triple threat Money in the Bank qualifying matches on this show. We had Tiffany Stratton versus Jade Cargill versus Candice LeRae. The heels double teamed Jade. They gave her a double suplex, but then Jade got the upper hand. She super kicked Tiffany out of the ring and then picked up Candice, tossed Candice to the outside onto Tiffany, was doing well, but then Nia Jax showed up. Bianca Belair came out there to confront Nia. And then after the commercial break, we had Nia Jax teasing that she was going to go after Jade, but then Bianca got in Nia's face, and then Indi Hartwell showed up. She sent Jade into the ring post to try and help her partner, Candice LeRae. Candice almost beat Tiffany, but then when she went for a springboard moonsault, Tiffany got her knees up, and then Tiffany hit the prettiest moonsault ever and picked up the 1-2-3 victory. Nia Jax celebrated with Tiffany after the match was over. Match was fine. We're setting up Tiffany as a potential winner, which I'm a fan of. I think a lot of people want to see her get the big push despite her controversial video. And clearly, you got Jade Cargill working with Tiffany Stratton after that video came out. So it looks like all is well with everybody. Tiffany, there was a fear that people were not going to get over what happened and WWE would stop pushing her, but it looks like enough time has passed, the heat has died down, and now Tiffany is back to being pushed. And then after the match was over, we had Naomi with Bayley backstage, and Naomi was talking about potentially cashing in on Bayley after winning, just something that would have to be done if you win Money in the Bank. But then Blair Davenport showed up and basically said that Naomi's not winning and Bayley's days as champion are numbered. Then we had Meechin backstage talking to Adam Pearce. We also had the Street Profits coming in and wanting a match against the Bloodline, but Nick Aldis said because of all the chaos, he was not going to let that happen. Then Pretty Deadly showed up and pitched this idea of there being a musical with them, but then Montez Ford pitched a beatdown to Pretty Deadly, and a match was set up for next week's show. Street Profits going up against Pretty Deadly. We then had our second triple threat match, LA Knight versus Logan Paul versus Santos Escobar. Now, before the match, Logan Paul cut a promo and he introduced the NBA's Tyrese Haliburton. I'm not sure how to pronounce the name exactly, but he's from the team, the Indiana Pacers, and they had a game with the New York Knicks, I believe, is the team. I'm not a sports guy, so if I screw something up, I apologize. But yeah, this was done to build up heat. And then we had our match. We also had Jalen Brunson from the New York Knicks. He was out there at ringside for this match. And unfortunately, we started having some blackouts. As Michael Wayne pointed out, there were numerous blackouts from Fox. Basically, anytime there's like a fan flipping off the camera or something Fox did not want on screen, it got blacked out. And also, there were multiple chants that were censored on this show. Apparently, they were chanting "F you Pacers." So, yeah, that was one of the things that got censored. Thank you for that, David. It is what it is. Fox is going to censor things, and USA Network does too. Maybe not to the degree as Fox, but they're still going to censor things. That's why Netflix is going to be really interesting to see if we get segments fully uncensored once WWE makes the move with Monday Night Raw over to Netflix. But yeah, the blackouts and the audio being censored, it was a bit much on this show. Anyways, let's talk about the match. Bad guys double teamed LA Knight, and then Logan turned against Santos. Essentially the same angle that was done in the first triple threat match. Then as the match went on, it was very competitive with all three. Logan got in a few near falls, and then when he could not pin LA Knight with a swanton, that's when Tyrese grabbed some brass knuckles, but then Jalen confronted him. LA Knight then hit the BFT to Santos. Logan tried to pin LA Knight, rolling him up, but LA Knight reversed it and got the 1-2-3 victory, meaning LA Knight will officially enter the Money in the Bank ladder match. Can he win it this time? He was in it last year, could not win, but maybe this will be LA Knight's opportunity. I really don't want to see him cash in on Logan Paul, though. So it's like, I want him to win, but at the same time, I don't, because I think his future is a United States title program with Logan Paul. So I don't know if I'm going to go with LA Knight to win Money in the Bank. I like Christopher's scenario here. I could see Logan Paul costing LA Knight the Money in the Bank. That would be my guess at this point. So the match was solid, and the angle was effective. I mean, it's definitely going to get WWE some publicity, and the fans were into it at Madison Square Garden. After the match was over, it was teased that the Tyrese and Logan were going to attack LA Knight, but then Jalen came in with a steel chair, and Logan and Tyrese had to back off. Good usage of the NBA stars, definitely a nice idea. And I don't know if we'll ever get like a tag team match with these guys. It would very much give me a similar vibe as Hulk Hogan and Dennis Rodman against DDP and Karl Malone. They could always do that, but I don't see that happening. But hey, it was a cool little moment here with the four of them in the ring together. Never say never, right? We had Baron Corbin backstage with Apollo Crews. They were basically laughing that Santos Escobar lost. And then Carmelo Hayes came in, talked about winning Money in the Bank, being Melo in the bank. And then Apollo said Melo's over his head, but Melo brought up how he, in fact, beat Randy Orton to qualify. So no, he is not over his head. Just a way to get Corbin and Apollo on TV, I think. Not much to this segment. And Carmelo, for that matter. We had a really cool Sika, Wild Samoan Sika video package, a tribute to him. He passed away this week. WWE Hall of Famer, one half of the Wild Samoans. Top tag team back in their heyday, managed by Captain Lou Albano. And, of course, he's the father of Roman Reigns. They always do a fantastic job with these video packages. So really cool to see this. And the crowd was chanting Sika. That was great. And rest in peace. We had Paul Heyman backstage with Solo Sikoa, once again wanting to know what's up. And Solo said, what's up is he's listening to Paul Heyman now. Jacob Fatu is too dangerous. He's not there. And said that Heyman is officially going to become Solo's wise man. We had an Andrade video package to hype up him entering Money in the Bank. And then we had our third triple threat Money in the Bank qualifier, Blair Davenport versus Indi Hartwell versus Naomi. Guess what happened here? The heels double team Naomi, and then Blair Davenport quickly turned against Indi. They did the same thing in all three matches, which you had two heels and one face in every match, but still, come on. Anyways, match was all right. Very evenly matched. And then Naomi missed a split-legged moonsault. Indi Hartwell took Blair Davenport and threw her into the steel steps, basically swung her into the steel steps. And then she threw Naomi into the barricade. But then guess who came back looking for revenge? That would be Jade Cargill. Jade attacked Indi, and since it was a triple threat, there was no disqualification. And Naomi was able to take advantage of this, and she quickly pinned Indi Hartwell to qualify. No surprise here. Indi Hartwell in this match, she's going to be the one taking the fall. So I mean, I fully expected this. And just like in the other match, Candice was going to be taking the fall. These matches were predictable. And I just wish they would have come up with something a little bit different instead of having the two heels attacking the one baby face. Just overdone. Backstage, we had DIY talking about their tag team title opportunity next week against Austin Theory and Grayson Waller. Austin Theory confronted them, and Gargano once again said that Waller doesn't care about Theory. And at that point, Waller came in with a sneak attack, and they left DIY laying. I think we're getting new tag team champions. That'll be next week in Toronto, where DIY previously won the NXT titles. We'll see what happens, but I'm going to go on a limb and say we get new tag team champions, and we get the Grayson Waller and Austin Theory split and the Theory babyface turn. We had our final segment of the evening, which, like the beginning of the show, got two segments. Bloodline came out there. Heyman started to talk, but then Solo quickly grabbed the mic. And as it turns out, Jacob Fatu was actually there. You had Solo introducing Jacob Fatu, the Samoan werewolf, as his new enforcer. We had our final commercial break. And when we came back, Solo had every member of the Bloodline acknowledge him one by one. They all did. But then when it was Paul Heyman's turn, the crowd was doing the no. They were chanting no. And they had a bag with a lei in it. Solo took it out. He handed it over to Paul Heyman. Heyman was going to put it around his neck, Solo's neck, and acknowledge him. But Heyman said he loves Solo. However, Solo is not his tribal chief. And I forgot to mention at the beginning of the segment, Solo did Roman Reigns' acknowledge me before having the Bloodline acknowledge him. So yeah, Heyman said no. And he was basically in tears at this point because he knew there would be consequences for this one. And sure enough, Solo Sikoa lays out Paul Heyman with a Samoan spike. And they beat the crap out of Heyman. Jacob Fatu came off the top rope with a splash to Heyman. They took him to the outside of the ring. And again, a throwback to Roman Reigns. They hoisted up Paul Heyman. They did the Shield three-way power bomb, putting Paul Heyman through the announce table. And then Solo, the Bloodline, they did the ones. They celebrated over the lifeless body of Paul Heyman, and SmackDown went off the air. God Mode Z, it might have been a headbutt. I might have missed the camera shot or wrote splash, but I think it was a headbutt now that you mention it, from Jacob Fatu. And speaking of Jacob Fatu, that theme song was pretty decent. You know, I will say this. I'm not a big fan of Def Rebel, and I feel like half of the theme songs are AI generated, but this one was solid, and I liked the fire and everything. It was one of the better ones for Jacob Fatu. Shout out to Steven, who sent in a €2 super chat. Thank you for that. Says, Roman and Heyman returning is going to be huge, bruv. Yeah, I'm loving where this is going. Roman Reigns is going to be the biggest baby face when he comes back. And, you know, this was the right way to go. Paul Heyman, I think he's done as a heel. Like, he had his run, but after that Hall of Fame induction, Paul Heyman's a good guy. You know, everybody remembers him fondly from ECW, and he's always been Roman Reigns' guy. So Heyman's going to be by Roman Reigns' side when Roman returns. This is personal now. Solo Sikoa just made it personal by attacking Roman Reigns' wise man, Paul Heyman. Excellent angle to end the show. It was a really good SmackDown. The triple threats were good. Like I said, I had a little bit of criticism in regards to the two heels attacking the babyface in every single match. But yeah, I thought the final angle was a massive home run. Excellent stuff here as usual from the Bloodline. Roman Reigns coming back is going to be big money. I give the show a B+. Another really strong show, and I definitely recommend checking out all of the segments involving the Bloodline. Money in the Bank looks to be a good show, and we continue with the momentum for SummerSlam. Roman Reigns coming back. I think we're going to get Bloodline versus Bloodline at Survivor Series. Like they got pretty much a whole sequence of big angles between now and WrestleMania. You got the return of Roman Reigns, which will probably be SummerSlam. Either he'll show up or he'll show up before that and have a match at SummerSlam. I'm not sure what they're going to do at this point, but it sounds like they're going to do Cody Rhodes versus Solo Sikoa at SummerSlam, which would tell me that Roman is going to show up at SummerSlam. And then you got War Games, and then you can start building for the Royal Rumble. Roman Reigns possibly winning the Rumble to get a title match, or what about The Rock? I mean, there's so many ways that this can go. But War Games, I think it's a safe bet we're going to see the old Bloodline versus the new Bloodline. You remember we got Jimmy Uso, who was attacked, and Jay will probably reunite. But you know they gotta set that up too. You know that just can't be a snap of your finger and everybody's all getting along again. They're gonna have to slowly build that up as well. So like I said, a lot of sequences between now and WrestleMania to look forward to. I'm hyped for it. WWE continues to be on a roll. They're producing quality television. I'm just not a fan of these blackouts. So hopefully we will see changes, at least with Raw. Maybe it'll be a little bit better with USA once the changes are made. First with SmackDown to USA in September, and then Raw to Netflix in January. Anyways, guys, thank you all for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the recap. If you did, please do me a favor and give this video a thumbs up on YouTube, nodq.com/YouTube, and stay tuned to nodq.com for the very latest. Buy a shirt, nodq.com/merch. Say yes to No DQ, and I will see you all next time.